Okay, welcome to this open house. It means you get to meet us, and in a way, we'll meet you. We don't see you, but we see your names, and you will have a chance to interact with us, even by speaking as things go on. And this is the open house for the 2024 to 2026 certification program to become an inner relationship focusing professional starting in October. We have with us a number of the teachers and co-mentors from the program, not all, but important ones. And we're going to be really giving a presentation about all the details, many of the details of the program. You'll get to meet us, see us, hear our voices, and you'll get to ask your questions. And so we welcome you. Yeah, there's 13 people here. Wow, super. That's really great. Barbara McGavin's my co-host for this meeting. You want to say a word, Barbara?
A word? It's always very exciting when there's a new cohort going to be forming. It's one of the things that's been really important that I've seen developing over the years, which is a group of colleagues. There are a number of people here who are part of that process, have gone through and become our colleagues through this program. And I love that it's expanding and continuing to expand.
Yeah. So we take a group of people through the program, through the 2-year program, starting every fall. We don't take more than 18. And usually we don't get that many. Last year we had 16. So you get to be part of a not huge group, but a reasonably sized group of future colleagues and friends, and you're becoming our colleagues. So inner relationship focusing, I don't have to tell you what that is. Over the 2 years, we emphasize working one-to-one, we emphasize teaching groups, we emphasize the different aspects of the focusing world. And maybe I will let the people who are here introduce themselves. And I know that Pat Omidian and Nina Joy Lawrence cannot stay longer than half an hour. So maybe you'll introduce yourselves last, and then you can go on from that point and say something about what you're teaching in the program. So let's have the rest of us introduce ourselves. And I'm Ann Weiser Cornell, the president and CEO of Focusing Resources and the co-developer of Inner Relationship Focusing.
I'm Barbara McGavin. I'm also the co-developer of Inner Relationship Focusing and the untangling process. And I've been doing this since 1983. So I've learned the odd thing or two about the process and how to share it with other people. Okay. Ginevra.
Okay.
You next.
Ginevra's next.
Mute.
Unmute.
Hi, most of you. I'm Ginevra. I know most of you from Path to Lasting Change. It's good to see you here. I teach focusing. I'm coach, integral coach, and business coach, and focusing facilitator.
Emily, be next.
I'm Emily Agnew. I'm in Rochester, New York, and I make a living full-time also doing focusing-oriented, deep one-on-one work with mostly highly sensitive people, which is actually most of the people that will come for this kind of work. The majority of people are highly sensitive. And I teach 5 courses in the program and started after I got certified in 2013. So it's ongoing learning.
just 11 years, Emily, since you were certified. It seems
Yeah,
longer.
it's hard to believe that time
Yeah,
flies. Isn't it? Yeah.
time flies. Yes. Yes. Marcella.
Hi, I'm Marcella Calabi. I live in New York City, but I work with people all over the place. And I use focusing as one of the tools in a toolbox that includes, that supports helping people with decision making, communication strategy, and conflict resolution. I also use and teach and guide focusing all by itself under no other umbrella. And I think that certification, and if we talk again, I'll expand on this, but I think that getting certification was the best thing I ever did for myself, independent of any question about how I use it professionally.
Oh. Thanks, Marcella. Jacek.
Yes, hello. My name is Jacek and I come from Poland. So I am here representing Eastern Europe and also representing men. I'm the only male panelist. So here we go. It's good to be in such a fine company. I'm honored to be here. I am a focusing professional. I offer guided sessions and teach courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacek. So either Nina Joy or Pat. Pat, you look unmuted. So, oh no, whatever. Okay, Nina Joy.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I'm Nina Joy Lawrence in Oregon. And I've been teaching focusing since I started learning it. I just one course from Anne, and I ended up in Pakistan working with Afghans and with Pat Median, and we developed just by experimentation, developed a branch of focusing based on interrelationship focusing called we call it community wellness focusing, because they don't do pairs, they don't do one-on-ones. It doesn't work there, so we do group stuff and community stuff that reaches out even with little bits to go home and teach somebody right as soon as you learn something, so that it starts making the community better, more well. Okay, Pat.
Yeah, I'm Pat O'Median, and thank you, Anne, for always inviting us and being so supportive of guest house focusing based on Rumi's poem, The Guest House. And I just, hey, interrelationship focusing, just top. Thank you both, Barbara and Anne. Yeah, so Nina and I started teaching focusing when I didn't know focusing. I'd set up the workshops that Nina would be doing, and then I'd go sit in the audience and learn what everybody else was learning as they were learning it. So, and then, which means you really can teach it as you learn it. And that's the model we use. And so, yeah, we work in groups, and one-on-ones are important, but they tend to be when somebody in the group needs one of us to sit separately with them rather than teaching people how to work in pairs per se.
Yeah.
And we teach one of the sessions just to give you an idea of help you discover an idea of where you might do something similar with one of your communities that you belong to. And Pat and I are right now in the midst of teaching a year-long, this is our first year-long
community wellness focusing.
So that people get certified as focusing trainers from a community wellness approach. And they learn both of the both what Anne teaches, what you teach here, the one-on-one, being able to really listen to each other, and the how to work from the beginning with a group. So it spreads out. And yeah, and you're all really welcome to come to a weekly demonstration of it on Thursdays, where we have something we call focusing bits. We just take something like Anne does in her in the weekly
weekly tips.
Weekly tips. We take just a teeny little bit and we play with it. And get everybody, and people can show up who don't know focusing or who know it, and just take a little bit. We've been doing it for a number of years. And
can you give people a link in the chat how they could join that thing here?
Sure, I'll do that.
Yeah. So okay, that's quite a bit. Is that enough, Anne?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to hear in more detail from the teachers who are here as we give a picture of the whole program. So the whole program has 33 classroom meetings. We call them classroom meetings each year for 2 years. There's October through June, and then the next year, September through May. The time of day will be the same time of day as this webinar. So if you're here, you will be able to be live at that class. It's Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. in the Eastern in Europe, 6 to 8 p.m. UK and Ireland, and 1 to 3 p.m. in the Eastern time zone of the US, and not very 10 to 12 in Pacific time, and really not a very good time for Australia, etc. So when you get started, we're starting with working one-to-one and fundamental principles of working one-to-one. And those first meetings are taught by me and Barbara and Peter Gill, who's not here, couldn't be here today. They're on empathy, empathic attunement, and being self in presence. Barbara, do you want to say a bit about what you teach in those early meetings?
I was just looking over it, and it concentrates on the most important thing, which is really about how you need to cultivate self and presence in order to be able to be with somebody. Your job is actually being self and present with whoever's there. It's not actually about maneuvering them so that they become more self and presence. As you embody self and presence, you create the environment in which self and presence grows for both of you, in both of you. So being a fully present listener is core, and it's very early on in what we do. And this is my big thing. This is what I've been, putting forward for years and years and years. And I really believe it. And other people do too, which is really wonderful. That this is the core, the most important thing. So we always start with the most important thing, which is that self and presence and how to embody it and cultivate it and support it in somebody else.
Yeah. So at the same time that you're taking classroom meetings on these early, fundamental important topics, helping somebody stay with a felt sense is another one that comes in those first 9 or 10 meetings. At that same time, you're also partnering each week with another person in the program. And there'll be 15 to 18 of you probably. So each week you're getting to know one other person who's in the program with you by trading focusing with them. And then when we get to there's a break at the end of December and early January, and we come back, and then we're going to get you ready to work with practice clients. And Emily has something that she teaches right around there.
Yes, in the new year, it's an exciting intersection because it's the moment where all this preparation and the true foundation, as Barbara said, of the essential foundation of self and presence, you start to actually work with clients. I teach a boundaries class where we go over all the nuts and bolts of how you'll how to contact people, how to set up the sessions, how to distinguish how it's different from well, that's an ongoing conversation, how it's different from being a focusing companion. But that's the beginning of working with new people. After that class, you start working with people who've already got focusing. So it's kind of like training wheels at first because they sort of know the process, but you're helping them. So, but it's a good class.
It's a good class, and it's an exciting time when you get started with practice clients. So part of the program, a requirement for graduation completion, is to have 50 sessions, 50 practice client sessions, not clients, sessions. So you can have up to 6 sessions with any one practice client. And Emily will help you get set up, how you reflect, how you get feedback from that practice client, and then how you reflect on the session and how it was for you. Then you send your reflections to your 2 mentors. Oh, I forgot to mention you'll have 2 mentors. Maybe you knew that already, but it's an important part of the program too. So you send those reflections to your 2 mentors, and they respond, reply all, so that it's a group conversation. We're also in that second half of the first year, we're getting into more specific topics about working with people one-to-one, working with trauma, which basically is about working with a younger self inside, creating a healing relationship with a younger self. There's one on protectors, which is the name of the kind of part that's in an inner critic that comes up a lot with people. Barbara's the one who usually teaches that one. And
I usually teach that one. Yeah.
And also Barbara teaches a class in that second half of the first year called Life Forward Direction,
which is about getting in touch with and helping the client align with the life forward direction that is inherent within every part.
You know, a key aspect of this work is our confidence and trust that everybody has life forward direction. Every living being has inside potentially the next steps of right aligned life are ready inside us, ready to be taken. That's partly what focusing is. It's being able to tune in and sense directly the knowing about what would be right next. And that's also a knowing of what would not be right and what was not right in the past. So the inner sense of rightness and the inner sense of wrongness. And it's part of what we know about our work with people, that we're not just looking for problems. We're not diagnosing brokenness. We have the faith that everyone we work with has their wholeness, and our job is to accompany, support that wholeness as it's taking its next steps. And that course on Life Forward Direction is all about that. So then summer off. And
did you want to talk about the new people courses?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm a little bit fuzzy brained today. Right. Go ahead, Emily. This is still in the first year.
Yeah, first year, because it's 4 courses that take this foundation of inner self and presence, and then it's the rubber hits the road of what do you actually say. You're in front of a client who's never focused before. What do you say? What do you do? So it's divided into 4 parts, and I teach the first and the last, and Anne teaches the second and third. and it's wonderfully detailed. The important meta skill you have to hold while taking them is to hold on to the primacy of self and presence while learning some technique that can help a lot. So the one I teach at the beginning is about the conversation before the session, before the actual lead in, which can really help clarify the client's issue and create a momentum that helps them go into the session, make contact more easily. And then the last, there's a conversation you can have coming out of the session also that helps the client really own and kind of name what happened, not in an analytical way, but in terms of helping them understand what they experienced of the focusing process. So that, because that's one of our goals as guides, is to help people have a focusing experience, and you're sort of taking the person's hand and touching here and saying that was you making contact. That's what that feels like. So, and you can say more about the middle two.
Oh, no, I don't feel I need to do that. I mean, obviously there are differences in working with someone who's never had a focusing session before from working with an experienced person. And we discuss and have practice and examples and role play and demonstrations. And by the time this time you're already seeing practice clients, so it's very relevant. I could have used that yesterday. Well, hopefully it happens in the other direction, but yes.
Well, and I just want to underline that so at this point, after those 4 courses, you start working with people who've never encountered focusing before.
That's right.
And that's where the reports that you've been sending to Anne is everyone's mentor, and then you'll have your other co-mentor. You can even include little snippets of transcript in them and say, gosh, I can't, this didn't turn out like I thought. What happened there? And we can comment by email, like Anne was saying, and it's a really, really rich learning. And I just want to say, as Marcella said earlier, how this was such a deep personal experience, the training, which was true for me too. And in addition, for me as a practitioner, the depth and the specificity with which we were supervised in that way, I felt like when I started seeing clients, I really was standing solid on the ground and had a sense of what should be happening, how to facilitate it happening. I feel like the program is really strong in that regard.
Yep. We stay close.
Yes.
We stay close. And so second year is more of an emphasis on working with groups. And although you'll continue to work with practice clients, we're now emphasizing working with groups. And also what can be called marketing, but that's not a very popular, attractive name. It's more like finding your people and also finding your why. So Barbara does a class on what's called finding your why.
Yeah, it was really helpful for me when I got that. It's really important to stay connected with and aligned with why you want to do this. What is your deepest desire for doing this work? Why would you even want to bother? But so that why you're doing it, how you are doing it, and what you are doing are all in alignment. It's so easy to get caught up in what I'm doing. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do the other. But I lose touch with why it's important to do this. Why is it important that this comes into the world through me? And it's important to be in touch with your values. And that's what how is. How you do it is your values in action. So that all of that is in alignment. And that's really, really, it makes all the difference in the world for the feeling of aliveness in doing it. And why I want to do this is to help everybody feel more alive in their bodies and in their lives and in the world. So it's part of
your why. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Just want to check in with Pat and Nina Joy. The class you teach is in the second year, and I know you have to leave soon. So is there anything you wanted to add about what you offer people in that class that you teach? You're both muted.
I guess, like I said before, and then Pat can carry on from that. We let you know the kind of things other people are doing, but also have you sense what communities you're part of and how you might bring a little bit of relevant focusing into them so that it helps your family or your church or your neighborhood or something have just a little bit more ability to be alive and be lively and relate to each other and be at peace in themselves. You want to say more, Pat?
Yeah, I think also about how one can bring focusing into anything we're already doing. It not necessarily naming it until maybe when people say, oh, wow, something you did is so different. What did you do? And we can say, oh, well, there's focusing and here's more about it. But it's really a human process that one finds everywhere. And so how can we insert it into everything in life, work, home, play? Don't forget play.
Yeah, one of the things I said at the very beginning was that we base our stuff on what Anne teaches, and that's because Anne was my teacher, my only teacher at first. It was back in 2000 when I took my first class and started teaching. But certainly Barbara and Anne developed, yeah, I want to say both of you and not just Anne, but certainly when I think of the way I started, it was Anne in Anne's living room.
I know. It looks very different
And
now.
mine was shortly thereafter, and then going to treasure maps in Italy and really getting to know Barbara at that point was so special. So yeah, we're talking the 2000-ish. So it's been a few years.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And we now call treasure maps untangling.
Yes.
That's right. I have the wrong name.
It's
No,
okay.
no,
It's okay. It's
okay.
historical.
And the class that I invited everybody to, the focusing bits, and is we do to bring our year-long class to that little bit, but anybody can come every week. It's an open invite and a practice. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. And if you would like to practice sometime something you've learned from Anne, Barbara, Emily, everybody in the program, you're welcome to come to Focusing Bits and lead a 1-hour light session. We keep it light.
The reason I'm so
welcome.
proud, to have Pat and Nina Joy as part of our certification program is that community is important, and focusing spreads out horizontally. We're not teaching down, we're teaching to get, to gather together. And so when you take the class that's part of our certification program that they offer, you get so many ideas about how you could also be like, yeah, it is really great. Now you could also be bringing focusing in a community supportive way in all kinds of ways. We're proud to have that. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. So we are still talking about the second year.
And gotta run.
That's fine. That's
fine.
fine.
Bye, Pat.
There will be classes on the overall principles of teaching focusing, on the structure of a particular kind of first focusing workshop or class, how to plan and create focusing trainings. This is important because we don't give you the way to teach. We'd really like people to resource, to really know focusing deep down, and from there, teach the way you'd like to teach. You can teach the way we do. We want you to assist us in our classes, and you'll find out a lot more about how we teach by doing that. But as an assistant in Path to Lasting Change Part 1 and Path to Lasting Change Part 2, you'll be experiencing again those teachings. And if you took Path to Lasting Change Part 1 and 2 already, but maybe you took your focusing with another teacher, in which case, even better. And when you assist us with Path to Lasting Change Part 1, you stay after half an hour and talk with me or Ginevra, the teachers of that class, about what did you notice and learn about teaching from today's class. So in that second year also, we are talking more about marketing. Start with why is the first step in that. Emily has 2 classes she'll be teaching.
Yes, as Anne said a minute ago, building on Barbara's why, we try and give you a sense of the nature of what you could call values-based or relationship marketing. And for all of us here, I think, integrity is kind of the key core word. Marketing, people can associate, there's a lot of marketing out there that's not very fun to be on the receiving end on, and we wouldn't want to be sending it out or delivering it. But really what marketing is about is, we all love focusing. It's like saying, people are thirsty, we have water. How do you let people know that you have water? That's what it is. It's just helping people connect. So some of you may not be doing this for money at all. Others may want to do it for a living. There's the range. So we try and give you a sense of ways to get the message out, to find who is it that you'd like to work with and how can you connect with them in ways that meet your need for integrity. And it turns out that focusing itself is Swiss Army knife that it is a wonderful tool for getting the clarity that you need. You can ask, what is the whole felt sense of my ideal client or my ideal kind of a class? And you can get real concrete answers that give you action steps. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yep. Finding your people is the name of one of those classes.
Finding your people and getting the word out.
Getting the word out. Yeah. Got to be findable if you want to have clients, students, people. That got to be findable, whether they pay you or not. Yeah, so we hope that people will complete our program after 2 years, having taken huge steps toward realizing whatever you want to become. What does becoming a focusing professional look like for you? And we'll give you opportunities to check in on that many times during those 2 years. Well, a key aspect of this program is the mentorship. And so that means that as you join the program, before it actually starts, before the classroom meetings start meeting, you will choose a second mentor. So I'm everybody's mentor, and you get 2. And we have a list of co-mentors, and we have co-mentors here today for you to meet, and they'll tell you about their philosophy of co-mentorship or why that feels important. And I'll just say that we're very, very pleased with this format because, first of all, obviously everybody will have a relationship with the director of the program. But if you only had a relationship with me, that wouldn't be very stable. What if we didn't get along very well at some point? And we'd need help with that. But to have a built-in system where you have two people who are on your side, who are really dedicated to supporting your growth. And if you have trouble with one of them, the other one will be there to help with that. And it's really, I like it a lot. We borrowed it from a system used in Britain by the British Focusing Teachers Association, and just seemed like such a good idea. So you choose your co-mentor through discussion, like you reach out and meet the people when you read about the different co-mentors, you read about them and their background and get a feel for them. And then you reach out and have a chat with somebody who you're wanting to work with. And they need to agree. So it's a mutual decision. And I have a feeling that I can't imagine anybody, I mean, it's not like, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know where that sentence is going. Anyway, that's a lovely process of meeting the potential co-mentors, sensing the one that really feels right to you. They agree to work with you, and then you let us know who it is. And some co-mentors have a limit on the number of people they'll work with. And you can choose your co-mentor as soon as you are in the program and have committed to it. And we are taking applications now, and we'll talk a little later about how the application process works. But the co-mentors, you meet with your two mentors in a 3-way conversation by Zoom before the classroom meetings start. So it's, in a way, it's the first meeting of the program, and it's a focusing session with the presence of the two mentors. How does it feel to be starting? And then you have another, that's called a milestone session. You have another milestone session halfway through, and another milestone session when you're completely finished. The last thing that happens is your final milestone session. And along the way, you're in touch by email. You can reach out if you're feeling troubled or need help. And as we said,
or you want to celebrate.
That's right. And as we said, you send reports on your sessions. In the second year, you're also going to teach your own class. You'll send reports on that to your co-mentors. You'll also do a focusing project in which you'll apply focusing to some area of interest of your own. You'll send that to your two co-mentors. And
sessions.
You get right, there you go. 3 sessions with each mentor. 3 sessions with each mentor, just focusing sessions, being taken through focusing, receiving what you're learning how to do with others. Plus, then when you start working with practice clients, in 3 cases, you record those sessions and then make an appointment with one of the mentors, and you watch that session together and pause and comment. So those are called observed sessions. So it's a very rich learning experience, and we're going to hear from the people here who are co-mentors, who maybe will talk to us about your philosophy of co-mentorship or your own experience in this program. So
there's one more thing that we haven't talked about before we get on to that, which is about triads.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so part of what we do is from quite early on is that 3 members of your cohort will be in a group together. And the triad is also a way of having support from your co-students. And the reason that we chose 3 was, again, like having 2 mentors and 1 trainee, is that each person is responsible for the quality of the relationship between the other 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
So each person is there to support the relationship of the, so that you don't wind up with factions. You don't wind up with people splitting off and going, oh, I don't like that person. And oh, that kind of thing. We don't want that to happen. We want the three people, like a stool, to be able to support all three people. So
yeah, so
and halfway through there will be a new triad.
New triads halfway through. So I mentioned that for the first so many weeks, 12, 14 weeks, you trade each week with somebody, with one other person in the program. Then around the time you start seeing practice clients, you also are formed into triads. And we'll ask you, who are the 6 people you enjoy being with? We need 6. We can't just let it's a puzzle you have to work. And then we form triads out of putting you in a group with at least one person you wanted to be with. And the triads meet then on alternate weeks. From that point on, one week there's a class in that Thursday night, Thursday afternoon time, Thursday morning time here in the Pacific Coast. One week there's a class, one week there's a triad meeting. So there's no worry about time zones. That will be the triad meeting every other week from then on. And yes, new triads after the summer. So, okay, good. So the triads, as Barbara said, are another way to receive support. Okay, somebody will say something about co-mentorship. Marcia.
So my primary reason for accepting the honor of being put on the list of co-mentors is because I just enjoy it. I can't afford the time it takes to actively, comprehensively, and with great attention co-mentor a whole bunch of people. I haven't been asked to co-mentor a whole bunch of people, so I haven't had to say I have a limit. But the point is that I do spend time. I do read every report, and I can't resist responding to most of them, even though you can be confident that you will get a response from Anne, because it makes my head work and my heart. It makes me think about the stuff that I think is the most fascinating thing in the world, which is how this works. It makes me try to be articulate about it, which is always good. And it makes me try to be articulate about it in the very, very specific way that is being called for by that specific certification candidate, which is also very good. Because it reminds me, it makes me live in the space of the uniqueness and the specificity of each person's experience in each moment, which is what is a defining feature of focusing itself as a phenomenon and as a methodology. The other thing that I want to say in this context is that I've now done this for a few years. And between that and having also been an assistant in Treasure Maps when it was still called that, and paying very close attention to Anne and Barbara's work for a number of years now, I am continually moved by a phenomenon that has 2 aspects that I think deserve to be mentioned. One is the evolution and aliveness of what Barbara and Anne teach together. I've watched it mature. I've watched it be enriched. I've watched each one of them contribute fresh thinking and new ideas and new experience. It's not a cookie cutter methodology that somebody made up and is now marketing. It is a living, growing awareness and skill set. And the other aspect of that deserves to be mentioned, at least I think it is because it's part of what moves me very much about being able to watch this, and participate in this is the personal investment and the humility that Anne and Barbara bring to their work in their willingness to use themselves as the guinea pigs, as the practice people. Again, it's another, I have witnessed important teachers of important methodologies cook it up, package it up, and then present it as a thing, and not have the ego strength and confidence and openness and vulnerability and humility to use it on themselves visibly in public in front of their students. That is extraordinary, and it's precious, and it is an incredibly valuable pedagogical offering, because it keeps it very real and very present and very feelable, because it's not being presented as a methodology, but as a life process.
Hard for me to keep up the humility, Marcello. When you... thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Somebody's next. Jacek.
Let me go.
Jacek.
Yes. So I'm probably not going to win originality prize, but this is all focusing based. From the beginning to the end, focusing approach to the whole process of certification. And there are two sides to this. One is about the relationship. So the way I see it is, within this co-mentor role, I am a companion with additional features, so to speak, that go beyond the usual companioning. But the companioning is at the core, really at the core. So being available, present, holding the space. It's just holding the space for a larger process that has at least 2 years long, 2 years, as opposed to just 1 hour or 30 minutes, right? So when there's this aspect of going beyond, so maybe, I don't know, answering questions, giving advice, sharing my own experience. So it's a rich role. And then another aspect is just thinking of this whole thing as a process that emerges and develops over time. So across this period, there are many opportunities to pause, to sense freshly, to maybe cultivating self-in-presence is called for, or reconnecting with the resources, or reconnecting with the deeper wanting. So I kind of see this as my role to offer the reminders, offer maybe a little pointers. So it's like exploring together, being curious together, learning together. So maybe let me just say about who am I good fit for?
Okay.
Perhaps for those who may feel a little bit less secure about teaching. Because after all, teaching calls for a different set of skills than guiding, right?
Right.
I mean, we enter the certification with this very rich experience of being a companion, and guiding, after all, is just advanced companioning, right? So that transition is easier, but I think it can be quite tricky for some people to suddenly enter that new world of teaching. And I think I have a little advantage here because my original background is in teaching mathematics. And I quite like to kind of break things down. So if your learning style calls for understanding the large picture, how it all fits together, but you also need to look at the details, the whole what and how and the why, then I think I'm quite up to that. I'm kind of a nerd, really. I like to look deeply.
Me too, Jacek. I'm kind of a nerd too.
Yeah. So there you go.
But
Nerds of the
you're
world
one of these.
unite.
You're one of the
Yeah.
people who started teaching immediately on getting certified, and your
Oh.
classes are still lively, and so
Well, that's the
happy to
beautiful
have you.
thing about it, right? I'm currently teaching level 1 course, and I'm just sensing it freshly and keep changing.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep refining, right? I really like that. It feels like I'm in my element
Mm.
when I do that.
Mhm. And I just want to add as a parenthesis, some people take this program and they think, well, I want to work with people one-to-one. I want to add one-to-one
Mm-hmm.
facilitation of focusing to my professional life. I never thought of teaching anything, but we do require that everybody who goes through the program teach once, and it can be a group of 2 people. But over and over again, we get the experience that when people do bring themselves to do that teaching, they say, "Oh, I love teaching." So, thank you so much, Jacek.
Thank you.
Ginevra?
I remember when I signed up for certification, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. So I just want to say it's okay if you're not sure. If you just love focusing so much and it's had a profound impact on you already, and you want to stay connected. I wanted to be in a learning environment with other people who loved focusing. And the process of certification helped what I do now emerge, from me. So I wanted to say that. So that kind of leads into my approach to co-mentoring, which is like Jenlyn has a quote that the essence of what we do is we're one human being with another human being. And that's already a lot. So I come back to that all the time myself and welcome my co-mentors, my mentees back into that. We are one human being with one another, me and my co-mentees, as other people have said, learning together, walking together. And we are one human being with one or more human beings when we're facilitating or teaching, focusing. And I don't think getting too far away from that is this place where we can stumble. So that's at the heart of my approach. And I'll also say that I have a background personally with complex developmental trauma and have experienced how healing and freeing the process of interrelationship focusing is for people with that, for me. Leave it. And I also have a very bendy, twisty, messy life narrative and have seen how focusing has been helpful with that. So if you feel messy, welcome. There's a lot of space for you here. Yeah. That's enough.
Thanks, Ginevra.
Thank
Emily.
you, Ginevra.
I too had, thinking about what I wanted to say today about being a co-mentor, had thought of the quotation that Ginevra is referring to about being one human being with another. I think for me, I always had that bigger hat on because having come from a completely different career as an oboe player for decades and having had to start all over, I'm just always keenly aware of my mentees as people who are trying to deal with everyday life, and because everyone is at a stage of life where they have many responsibilities. And so just holding that space and kind of wanting to have your back as far as that goes. And I just appreciating all the nerd flags flying, because I never met a session transcript I couldn't spend way too much time on. I do have to make a living, so I try and keep a lid on it. But it's really just, I really enjoy that part of the process and the exchange. It really is, as I said earlier, it's an ongoing learning. And I was appreciating, Jacek, you said, who might be the right fit for you, because it made me think about it in that way. I seem to attract, and it kind of makes sense, people who have a certain, have an incredibly powerful amount to offer, and perhaps have been held back by feelings of vulnerability or some kind of traumatic experiences in the past. And so I've just had to learn to be exquisitely gentle with myself around that stuff. And so I'm experienced holding that space. But anyway, mostly I just, like everyone has said, you can't really go wrong here. There's so many wonderful co-mentors. It's really a question of what flavor speaks to you and what the whole felt sense is telling you. And for me, the one thing I would say is, just given my other responsibilities, I only take 2 mentors each year. So if you feel a strong pull in my direction, just it's better to contact me sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Barbara, I don't know whether you're in this group or not.
I'm not this year.
So
I'm putting my attention on some other areas.
yeah, very good, very good. So on our certification page, all the co-mentors are listed, and you can have a look at who they are. And that certification page, I'm just putting in the chat, and that links you there. So that's our program, and I could say more, but I'm going to wait and see if people want to ask a question. And you can either put a question in the chat, or you can raise your hand, in which case we'll let you have a voice. Yeah. And you don't have to write your question. You can actually engage with us and ask it as a direct. Okay, Kim, I'm going to let you have a voice. There you go.
Thank you. So I am going to have to cut out. I've got a client session coming up, but I just wanted to say how much I've enjoyed this, and it's been so helpful. And as I prepare to go into the certification in the fall, it just gives me a lot better feel for where I'm heading. And I just really appreciate it. So thank you all.
Well, you're on our list then, huh? That's great, Kim. Wonderful. Thurston, you may talk.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody. My question, hi. My question primarily goes to Jacek, because you said you're in Poland, and Polish is different than English, and this core program is in English, and the certification is in English, and everything is English. So my question rather is, how do you handle that? Are you teaching in Poland in Polish? Who is your audience? Who is your focusing clients? Are they locals? Or because if I put myself in the certification process, or generally thinking about becoming certified with an English-oriented or English-based program, how does that apply to a different language that I'm in a different culture? How can that be translated?
Hi, Thorsten. Are you from the north of Europe, from Scandinavia?
I'm not quite. My name gives me away, but it doesn't really, because I'm from Germany.
All right, okay. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I have trained in English, and all my partnership is happening in English. I have learned focusing. I have trained. I have clients in the US and in different countries. So I have this life, which is more online life, which is just beautiful because I can move about. And I am now starting a new life, so to speak, in Poland. So I keep going the English language thing, and I'm growing my roots in Poland.
Okay, and are you doing better?
Teaching locally, and so.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, because I'm the specific thing I'm heading at is the translation work or the translation that is necessary if I want to work with locals in Germany. I can't work with all of them in English. Some
yeah, I understand. Okay, so I don't understand the linguistics of German language, be able to answer. However, I don't have a problem with Polish language. And whenever there is a question mark, I think it's a rich area for exploration.
So you translated, Jacek, have you translated the teaching materials into Polish?
Yeah, I'm currently going over the student manual level 1. I find it enriching. Even when there's a question mark, as I said, I contact some people, I sense into it. So it has never been a problem to me, the language, no.
So I'll just also say, Thorsten, and anyone else who's interested in this, that a lot of people have taken our program who are native speakers who are non-English speakers natively. And we had somebody from Lithuania, we had somebody
from Greece.
From Greece, yes, and we have people from China in the program right now, and they manage through translating what's necessary. We do have a German-speaking co-mentor on our list, Arno Katz. So that when you do practice client sessions, you can do them in any language. But you need to do. You have 3 observed sessions, and if you want me to observe one of them, that one has to be in English.
Yeah, certainly. Maybe I was not really precise and clear about what my what I wanted to know, because the English language is not a problem for me, but the translation that I'm talking about is I'm getting used to focusing and everything, that the whole feel and the sense of everything is taking place in English, and now I have to put myself in a completely different culture and a completely different language setting, and I'm a bit worried if I will be able to translate that into the energy and the feeling and the words and the fluency of the process into my native language. That's basically
sure. Absolutely. And therefore, as you're deciding about this, you may want to have a chat with Arno Katz, who teaches online classes in German. And how that worked for him, and I'm sure he'd share with you some of the language.
And I have a mentee who I'm guessing would be willing to speak to you, who's German, who has spoken to me about this exact issue and just said that it did take her, when she started wanting to teach or guide in German, there are phrases that from practice in English just rolled off her tongue, like reminder phrases and stuff that she needed to kind of develop that fluency in German. And she translated, like she made her own set of the weekly practice sheets for her teaching, her level 1 teaching, because she just wanted to really own it, I think, in German. So she worked on phrasing it. But if you just send me a note if you want me to help you get in touch with her, if you think talking to her might help as well.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I would like to just reflect and really, from my experience, validate the question that you're raising, because having grown up with parents for whom English was not a first language, I spent my whole childhood talking about how different cultural concepts need different words, and how and sometimes we would switch languages because the subtle implications of one word in one language were better for what we were trying to communicate, even if the rest of the sentence was in English. So there's subtlety and nuance here, and there is cultural context. And those are, it's impressive to me, I think, that you're even raising this question, because it means you are already attuned to that level of nuance. And I hope that this group conversation allows you to take away that the way you've raised this question is a strength, even though you brought it forward as a concern, because it means that you're going to be already attuned to what you will need to do to communicate the essence of what you want to accomplish in another language.
Nice. Thank you, Thurston.
Thank you.
Now, I saw a hand up from Gwen Rose. Do you still want to say something?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and my question is, I have learned there, and this was the full core training 1 to 4.
Yes.
Can this count in any way when I
Yes.
book the course?
Yes, we require that people have had a full focusing training, including partnership. In our world, that's Path to Lasting Change parts 1 and 2. We used to teach in levels 1 through 4. In England, they teach in 5 levels, but whatever is your complete focusing training, that's what you need in order to be considered for our program. Thank you so much. I want to answer a couple of questions that people haven't asked, but I bet you have it in mind. How many hours a week does this program take? I think it's an average of from 4 to 7 hours per week during the October to June time period. So you have 2 hours in the classroom or with the triad. You have 1 more hour doing sessions, at first with other people in the cohort and then later with practice clients. And there's reading, and let's say the reading is an average of an hour a week, but it might take longer if you're a slow reader or not an English speaker. And then, so that's 4 hours. And then if you assist us with our classes, and assisting with somebody's classes is a requirement of the certification training, you can, that will take about another 3 or 4 hours a week for the 9 weeks of the class, to come to that class, to stay after, to have a meeting about it, and then sometime during the week, probably working 1-to-1 with one of the participants in the class. So it can be 7 to 8 hours a week if you're assisting with a class.
Well, and someone might do the untangling, the year-long untangling. Some people do on top of that, right?
That's right. So another requirement for completing certification is taking untangling. Barbara and I teach it in a year-long course that starts every April. And some of you, as I look at the names of the people here, I know some of you have taken it.
I've already taken it.
Yeah. Well, that counts, right? It doesn't have to be.
That already
anytime
counts.
you take it is fine. Or we teach it in 6-day retreats in beautiful places in the world, and that it also meets the prerequisite. But yes, if you take the
online.
Sometimes we do it online. If you take the year-long program, that's another 2 or 3 hours a week. 2 hours a week. And yes,
partnership.
Ginevra reminds us in the chat, right. Well, I mean, it's every other week, so it's an average of 2 hours a week.
Yeah, it's okay.
Ginevra reminds us in the chat that even if you don't do certification in the fall, you can do untangling
To getting free.
as a way of that. Now, Emily reminds us that there's something called demonstrations of facilitating focusing. That's a 3-meeting class where I work with a person new to focusing each week. And then there's a crowd of people watching and staying afterwards to comment on that. I teach that class 3 times a year. As part of the certification program, you're required to take it once. It's free. And you may take it as often as you like for the rest of your life. Now, demonstrations of facilitating focusing is free, but the untangling course is an additional charge. It's not included in your certification fee. Now I want to answer the question, what's next? If you decide you'd like to explore this program, the next step is to sign up for a free chat with me. And I'm going to give you a link to schedule that free chat. And we talk about this stuff. We talk about you and what's been your background and what makes you want to be part of a program to enhance the amount of focusing in the world. People have many different reasons for doing it. But it's a getting to know you meeting. And then I explained the program again because we really want people to know what they're getting in for. And at the end of that conversation, very likely I will send you an application form unless there's some reason why I don't sense you would be a fit or we would be a fit for each other, in which case I'll tell you why. So once you get the application form, you wouldn't even have the application form if you pretty much hadn't been accepted already. The application gives you a chance to reflect on various questions about the time it takes and so on. After you fill in the application and send it in, we will accept you. But you haven't committed yourself yet. After we accept you, you decide whether to take the program. And when you are sure, you're so goofy. When you are sure you want to, then you pay us or begin paying us because we have payment plans. And at that point, you can choose your co-mentor and get started. The course platform opens up. You can read the materials. You can get the materials, the main textbooks in the mail. There's the link. The link is in the chat for scheduling an appointment with me. There are very few scholarships available because, as you can tell, this program is very human intensive. It costs us a lot to do in terms of person hours, but we can talk about it. And Lisa has asked, have you ever rejected someone that's done Path 1 and Path 2 courses? No. Frankly, no. We rarely reject anybody, but if there's somebody who just, maybe they're not at the right place in their life, they're going through something, no. We'll have a talk about it.
Yeah, rejected isn't quite the right word. It's
Yeah.
more like it's become clear in the process that the next right step for them wouldn't be this.
And we come to that mutual decision.
And
yes.
it's mutual. Yeah, it
That's
becomes
right.
clear.
That's right.
We don't just say,
Elizabeth.
I don't think we
Yeah.
want you in this course.
No, that's not going to happen.
That's not gonna happen.
We're friendly.
Yeah, we don't fight often.
Elizabeth, you may talk.
Go ahead. Elizabeth.
Am I unmuted?
You
Yep.
are.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate hearing from everybody. Many of you I know from past trainings and going way, way back to 2011. I do have just a specific question, and that has to do with if a person misses a class. I know I've looked at the general policy about how often you can miss, but if a person misses a class, are there recordings?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
No,
Yeah,
so we really want people to attend live.
if possible.
And
Oh,
so we don't, our policy is you have to attend 80%, which means missing no more than 8. Because that being present is pretty important, but things happen, things that occur in people's
We know
lives. And in fact, I've actually been putting up video recordings. If the presenter shows slides, I'll put up a video recording instead of just an audio recording. There are always audio recordings. Yeah.
okay. And then I think the same question just applies when a person is assisting in a class. If something happens, or if you even foresee like missing a class out of the 9 or something, should you just not do it for that 9 weeks or?
Well, yeah, we would prefer that assistants not miss more than 2.
Okay.
If you know you'll miss more than 2, you should not assist that time.
Okay.
But 2 is okay, and you'll tell us well in advance if possible, so we can respond to the need. Assistants partner with the participants in the class, sometimes operate home groups if the class is big. Those are 10-minute groups at the start of class for checking in and being in a smaller group before everything starts. And sometimes assistants observe a pair working together. And Ginevra is the lead teacher of our Path 1 and 2. So hear from her in the chat. Assistants are part of the teaching team.
Thank you.
And so that's great preparation for teaching yourself, is to be part of that team.
I'm thinking back to when I took levels 1 and 2, and there were 15 people in the course, and I think the classes are much bigger now. And which
I wouldn't say much bigger.
The assistants, well, they're maybe larger, but it might say something about what the assistants
we've
do.
had, we won't take more than 40, and we had 37 time before this one, and this time we have 15. So they're still in the range there of 15 to 40.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. That just
Thank you. Yeah. Albane asks, can we register only when we finish Path 2? No. If you know you will finish Path 2 by the end, before the certification starts, you can talk to me right now and we'll get you into the process.
Project.
Project, right. People may want to know about the project. In the second year of training, we ask you to do a focusing project. And that's basically taking something that is of interest to you, focusing, it might be focusing combined with something else, and getting to know it better, and then reporting on what you did and what you learned. Jacek, what was your project?
I offered a course for musicians.
So creating a course that applies focusing or is to a particular population is an example of a project, and then telling us how it went. And other times people fill out a survey. Yeah, Emily, you.
I was just going to say, and I did mine. I am also certified in a 6-step process called inner bonding that dovetails really well with focusing. And so I did my project was to write up the ways that I use focusing to fill in some really significant gaps in the inner bonding, inner dialogue process. So that was super helpful for me as a practitioner too, to articulate all that and clarify.
Yeah, we hope the project will be something that carries you forward And
Yeah.
often how focusing combines with another method will do that.
Yeah. For me, the purpose of the project is for you to learn something. It's about what would you be interested in learning something about? What would you be excited to learn something about? What would
We had a woman who just loved the idea of teaching with games, focusing with games. And so she talked to a lot of different focusing teachers and found a lot of games that people were using to teach focusing and wrote what she discovered. And somebody else was wanting to know more about focusing alone. Why is focusing alone so hard for so many people? What would make it better? Interviewed a lot of people, read a wonderful article. You can find it online. Elizabeth has something more. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
you need to unmute?
I had one quick follow-up, just with regard to the potential conflicts. Can you just say something about at what point people sign up to assist? If people want to kind of do that in a way that facilitates their schedule, does that happen at the very beginning of the 2-year training?
Well, our teaching schedule is pretty transparent, so you can know what's coming up. But actually, even we don't know the exact schedule more than maybe 6 or 9 months in advance. So you can, as a trainee, there's a sign-up form for letting us know you'd like to assist that gives the upcoming classes and when they meet. And we need people to sign up for that no later than 1 week before the class starts. So yeah, and the requirement for certification is assist with the first course twice and assist with the rest of the program, the rest of the teaching of fundamental focusing once. So the way we teach it now, that's path 1 twice and path 2 once. We don't require that you assist us. You can meet this requirement by assisting any certified focusing teacher. You could assist Yatsik, for example. You could assist Emily. I don't know if you're using assistance, Emily, but just for example, we have a lot of people teaching.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. One more question from Lisa.
Got one from, Lisa. We are so not strict, let me tell you. We have had so many different formats for our projects. I mean, really, whatever form some of them are video, some of them are audio, some of them are, more obviously a paper, but it can be in any format that works to be able to convey what it is that you are trying to communicate with us. That will do it.
What would be fun for you to learn more about? One woman wanted her future with focusing was going to be to work with pet owners around their companion animals. And she put out the word that she'd like to do focusing sessions with the pet owners of animals that had issues. And did, I think, 8 of those sessions, and then wrote about what she learned.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Can people find any of the project write-ups on the website?
They can, actually. They can. You can find some samples of past projects, and that you can go. I can actually find that in a moment.
What is that? I'm always astonished.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that appreciation. If you go to this link, which is the Focusing Resources website, the articles page, and then you scroll down to where it says past certification projects, you'll see some really fun projects, including Arno Katz, whose project was to bring focusing into the school where he was a teacher, and his project failed. And it's still made, it made a great project.
Very useful. Yeah, it's you
Here's what
learn
didn't
something.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. And I
Oh,
just want to
wow.
thank all of you for being here and thank my colleagues. And this is, we do this because we love to. So
Yeah.
keep in touch. Let us know. Send emails with questions. We're happy to talk to you more. Take care. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.